Okay, so here is the comparison between the Honor 7X and the Xiaomi Redmi 5 Plus. And I want to start right away with the basics so we can actually see how much sense this comparison even makes. So, the Honor 7X in the US priced at around $200, but what I actually didn't even know, with only 3GB of RAM and 32GB of storage, where in Europe, for example, where it costs roughly usually like 250 euros, it comes with 4GB of RAM and 64GB of storage. So we pay a little bit more, but we get the higher end version, if we might say so. Now, the Xiaomi Redmi 5 Plus, usually at around $230, roughly 200 euros, comes already with 4GB of RAM, and since both have the same specs here, I think the comparison, especially in terms of price and overall specs, definitely makes sense. Now, which one is the better one? That's not all that easy to explain, especially since this one has to be imported pretty much everywhere where you are, where the Honor 7X is way more internationally available, so just keep that in mind. Import costs could come up as well, and maybe you have to flash a ROM or something like that, but if that is nothing that really concerns you and you just want to know which one is the better one for you, then we'll see if we can find this out. Now, let's start off with the design and build quality. As you can see, the Honor 7X is a little bit shorter. It is pretty much the same width. It feels a little bit maybe narrower, but not by much, and it is thinner. But I have to say, even though both are a little bit on the chunky side because they're just not quite as compact as a flagship, that's obvious, but it feels good in the hand. Personally, I have to say, even though we have a bigger battery and a slightly bulkier phone, this, due to the shape, for some reason manages to feel even better. So one-hand usability is pretty much the same after all. So 2x1 with 6 inches and so on. It won't make a huge difference. I just kind of like this inner feel. It was just a little bit more convenient and more comfortable, secure to hold. But build quality wise, both great tactile feedback. Both fingerprint readers are pretty much identical. I don't think there is a huge difference. And yes, this finger wasn't registered. So let's try this once again. So yeah. I actually tried it a few times, and usually, which is not the case right now, it was the Xiaomi that actually won, because the display turn-on time on the Xiaomi is a little bit better. Now, what we can see here, 2 cameras on the Honor and 1 on the Xiaomi, but otherwise I don't want to go too much into it. What both have in common is unfortunate, yes, and a deal breaker for many people, still micro USB. But I guess if you want 6 inches, which is the more usually expensive form factor, you just don't get this at this price range with USB Type-C yet. Both speakers pretty much the same, headphone jack, location is different, notification LEDs have both, so very comparable. It really comes down to what you want. I will personally give pretty much the same rating for both in terms of build, design as well. So there's not a huge difference, especially fingerprint reader. So it just comes down to what you want. Now, if we are already talking about the display, things are a little bit different, and I'm not quite sure if the camera will be even able to show this difference. I will try to do my best, but it doesn't really matter what the camera will actually show, it just matters what I'm saying. Both calibrated at the pretty much same brightness, both at 109 lux. You can see that both do an absolutely fine job. Now, viewing angles, as you can see, of course, on the camera, it's not always the same, but both don't have the best ones. But this one, especially on video, will actually look just about as good. But in reality, for some reason, it felt weird. So even though this is also not a perfect display, I kind of like it more. It's also brighter. I think it was like 450 lux, where this one is only 370, which is a little bit below average. So both okay. But this one just wins for me, and especially since this is not that bright and has a little bit of some, let's say, lack of contrast maybe. I'm not quite sure what else to call it. This one wins. Totally fine still on both ends. Now let's already get to the speaker here. Let me quickly fire those up. And start off with the Honor. Let's keep it. And I don't want to make it too long, not longer than it actually already will be. I think it was obvious enough, unless maybe my microphone doesn't change something due to the what was it, filter that I used for compression. But you will usually otherwise notice absolutely that the Honor just feels a little bit thin. It's just not loud enough, and the Xiaomi isn't the very best one either, but it's way louder compared to this one, definitely, and it just sounds way more high quality and rich. And the same also goes for the headphone jack. It's noticeably louder, it has more customization options with the equalizer and so on, and it just is louder and high quality, just sounds better. So in these two departments, sound overall, the Xiaomi wins still noticeably, at least by half a star. Now performance wise, I'm not really gonna, let's just kill all apps, just so no one else is. Now, app launch times don't really matter at all. This is something that I think even a mid-range to a flagship, the difference doesn't matter. Because as you can see, one time one wins, sometimes the other wins, and it doesn't really change a thing. So I'm actually just quickly cover this. Both perform very well. This one actually really nice with the Snapdragon 625, does an absolutely nice job. The only issue that I have with the Honor, as you can see here, is that I don't know, it has this tweaked scrolling that I simply don't like. It feels so off compared to this. This is nice and fluid and lightweight. Where this, I don't know, it's not visible maybe so much for some people who don't have the eye, but I definitely see a difference. This one feels kind of like it scrolls for longer, and this is normal stock Android scrolling, where this one is just not. And that's why I'm actually gonna leave it, because I still think that the Xiaomi is a tad little better. Especially without the scrolling, because I gave at least a half a star off for the scrolling, because I just can't get used to it. If you don't care about it at all, in normal daily use it won't make a difference. Now the next thing would be the battery life. Roughly 5 hours on mobile data, 7 hours on Wi-Fi, where we here get at least, let's say, 1, if not 1.5 hours more. That is quite a difference. It should be maybe even a little bit better here than it is, but at least I would usually say an hour, but maybe on average even 1.5 hours. Standby range is quite similar, a little bit better on the Xiaomi. Now about call reception and so on, this is something that I have to point out. No band 20 on the Xiaomi, so for people who live in countries that need band 20, this is definitely something that's not great, but otherwise reception and so on was good. Call quality also, because people always talk about this, it was fine. It gets the job done. I don't really think there are big differences where I have to get into. Now software, I'm actually not gonna show something because I don't want to make this video any longer than it has to be, but the thing is, I like EMUI, what it offers in terms of overall experience. It's fine, it got better by now, but I also have to say that there are a few quirks like the tweaked scrolling and some minor things, but it's not bad. And at least on the 7.0 version compared to 8, what it will become, what I've seen from other phones that have it already, I'm actually not that impressed. And I like the slightly more customizability here, but I also have to just point that out. On the Xiaomi, you will have to flash a global ROM, which is not hard to do, but still, some people don't want to do that. You have to just do that. And otherwise, because you maybe don't always get proper language customizations and so on. But it has a nice amount of features, helpful ones, but not everyone likes the look of it, because you have to definitely mod it to make it feel a little bit more like stock Android, where this one is a little bit easier. This one has the better theming engine, the Honor, where we have a good one as well here, but just not quite as flexible as on the Honor. So that's about that. So let's quickly get into the camera. And I want to start off with the one from the Xiaomi. Selfies, I will give it a win, and I will quickly go through this because I don't want to drag this too far. As you can see, quality is nice, absolutely in every aspect. I really actually like what the front-facing cam does. Not always, but still absolutely fine. Low light, not that great, but like I said, I want to really keep it short. And this is pretty much the same that I already said in my review. A little bit too grainy, just not that impressive. Outside, really nice pictures for the price. This is good quality. Overall, usually everything just gets done nicely. HDR works good, even though it's not auto, and so on. Yeah. I'm actually not gonna show the video because I don't think that's necessary, so let's quickly go to the Honor. As you can see, selfies are also nice and sharp, but just overexposed. I found this weird because this was made pretty much at the same time, and you have the benefit though of the bokeh mode, which you just don't get because you don't have two lenses on the Xiaomi. So just keep that in mind. The Honor has the better camera software, more features, and it's more flexible. but the actual pictures, at least on the main cam, are pretty much the same. Front-facing cam, it depends on what you want. If you want a better quality, go for the Xiaomi. If you want more features, go for the Honor. Low light, the Honor wins. Main camera is similar enough to give it the same rating. Video, I will give it a little bit for the main camera, a win for the Xiaomi. But I don't want to get too much into that. What I actually want to do already is one thing. I want to now show side by side, and I'm actually sorry, but I think most probably too lazy to show it on screen, but I want to go through my rating that I introduced recently, and this will pretty much say prove how comparable this is, and it will show, because for example, I gave for build the Xiaomi, and I have to start this time with this one because that's how I wrote it down, 4.5. This one also got 4.5 stars, so pretty much the same. Design, both got 4. Fingerprint reader as well. Now display, I gave the Xiaomi 4, where I only gave this one 3.5 just because of the lower brightness and the little bit of lack of contrast. Speaker, 4 stars, 3.5 stars, just not as loud and not as high quality, or let's say lack of quality. Headphone jack, 4 stars against 3 stars because it is noticeably better. Performance, 4 stars against 3.5. And I pretty much just took half a star off because of the tweaked scrolling and it just being not quite as consistently nice and fluid, but still good. Battery, 4.5 versus 3.5. That's just about what 1 hour on average does. Software, 4 stars versus 3 stars. Why? Tweaked scrolling and some minor things that I just don't like so much by now about Huawei's UI. This one just has a little bit more features, are nicer ones, but for some people it could be also the other way around, because here you have to flash and some things like that, and importing and so on. Now front-facing cam, 4 stars for both. Low light, front-facing video cam also as well. Low light cam, the Honor gets 3.5, where this one only gets 3, so it's half a star better. The main cam, pretty much about the same, so a little bit better quality here, but a little bit more features here, and the differences with one being better on one term and the other is not enough to make a difference. Video cam, 3.5 versus 3, just because the Xiaomi has 4K. Just that's why I took a half a video off, but because both don't have the best video, but it has the better one. And the value, 4.5 stars versus 4. But that's also something, because especially if you don't pay import taxes and such, this is just cheaper and you already get 32 gigabytes, 64 gigabytes and so on. So at the end, I think it's quite obvious that after all, on an average, the Xiaomi wins. And for me, it definitely does, just because the important things like the speaker, like the performance, and like the display, it just wins. Camera is wherever you want it to be, quite close in both terms, the design as well. But those things that I've mentioned are enough to give it a lean towards it. I still absolutely can recommend this, especially since you can get this everywhere. Because after all, if the price is roughly the same, there is still the thing that you have to import this, and usually don't maybe get all the same warranty things, and sometimes you have to go through the importer, or you have to flash a ROM, and maybe the lack of band 20. These are things you have to consider. But if all of these are things that you don't bother about, since you have already imported phones in the past, I think this is just the more solid buy. But locally, this is still good. You should though still check other competitors. A Xiaomi Mi A1 is available also pretty much everywhere, and has stock Android and has some features like of that. Personally, I didn't feel like I wanted to compare it, because these have the same thing in common with the 6-inch 2x1 display. The other ones don't have that, but if you want to know how they would compare, maybe just leave me in the comments what you want to know, and then I will answer it. But otherwise, that was already it. Under 15 minutes. That's way faster than expected, and a nice thing. So I hope it was helpful, and if you kinda like the more compact, more direct comparison like I did them this time and the last time before over the 30-minute long one, let me know. If you want the longer ones, I could still do this, but I think you get pretty much the same amount of information here still anyway. So this was it. Until next time, bye.